Boom. Well, and hello, everybody. Welcome to Megan, Duchess of Advocacy World Podcast. I am your host, Special K Thoughts, aka Special K, better known in the world of Twitter. If you are listening to us on YouTube and you are not a subscriber, please go on ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if you are listening to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and if you are not following us, go ahead and hit the follow button. Well, everybody, there's just been a lot going on in the world of success. I mean, a lot. There's just a lot going on, isn't there? But, in regards to this podcast, we are going to concentrate on one subject matter only. And what we will talk about is Meghan's court win against her devil spawn half sister, Scammy. Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about during this podcast. Scammy. You guys know Scammy? Or is her name Yvonne Grant? Or is it Samantha Markle? Or is it Samantha Rasmussen? Or is it Samantha Grant? No. I know what her name is. Her name is Samantha Hale. That's what her real name is, right? All right, squaddies, let's go ahead and take a deep dive into this court case verdict, decision, judgment that just came down a couple of days ago in regards to Samantha Markle. Samantha Markle, yeah, that fraud, who is or was or is still, suing Meghan for defamation and I guess libel, right? Defamation and libel. Scammy is suing Meghan, basically saying that, Meghan defamed her because Meghan is claiming that she doesn't know her and that they were never close. And, Meghan is saying that Scammy did not raise her, which is pretty easy to believe because, we all know that Scammy didn't raise her own damn children. But anyway, but yeah, I think it was March 30th that the federal court finally made a decision in regards to Scammy's frivolous lawsuit against Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. She's claiming that, Meghan defamed her because, Meghan said in the Oprah Winfrey interview that she didn't know Scammy and that they were not close. And Scammy was also suing Meghan for defamation in regards to the Finding Freedom book and what was said about her in the Finding Freedom book. Now, I bought the Finding Freedom book, but to be honest, I didn't really read it. I mean, I know that sounds whack, but I really honestly didn't. I paid attention to what was released publicly about what was in the book, but I didn't actually really sit down and read the book. I should say the whole book. I read some chapters in the book, but not the whole book. Finding Freedom kind of caught me off guard, kind of put a little bad taste in my mouth because Omid Scobie and Carolyn Duran, they basically were trying to present all sides, right? And I don't like books like that. It's like if I'm buying a book because I'm a fan of somebody's, I just want to hear their side. I don't give a shit about nobody else's side. Okay, that's just the way I roll. But in the Finding Freedom book, Omid and Carolyn or Caroline, whatever her fuck her name is, they I think they spoke to some of the Airheads friends and and gave their point of view. And of course, Harry and Meghan, some of their friends, and their points of view, and this, that, and the other. And damn it, I didn't give a damn about what the Airheads thought, right? But anyway, I'm going off subject here. But yeah, Scammy, she was suing Meghan in regards to what was written about her in Omid Scobie and Carolyn Duran's book called Finding Freedom, which was a quote unquote unauthorized biography about Harry and Meghan's leaving the royal family. So let's go ahead and get into this recent decision that was handed down by federal court judge. Let me see what her name is real quick. Let's see. You guys are gonna have to forgive me because I am doing this podcast off the top of my head. I have not written down any notes. Okay, so I may stumble and fumble here and there. But this was a federal case, or I should say, this is a federal case. And the decision was finally made. The decision finally came down, and it was the Honorable United States District Judge, Miss Charlene Edwards Honeywell. She finally made a decision in regards to Scammy's lawsuit against Meghan for defamation. And I was very pleased with the outcome. But let's go ahead and talk about this verdict, and let's talk about some details in regards to the decision that was made, because I do believe that there are some squatties and just people in the general public who might be a little confused about what was actually court ordered. Okay. But I'm going to start off with the factual background. Okay. Those of you who would like to actually read, right, this court order, I highly advise that you get your hands on a copy of this court order, because it's very, 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 very detailed. I mean, the way it cites case law and the way it refers to different court cases that have happened that set precedents. This federal district judge, United States federal judge, she did an excellent job. She really, really did. I mean, she was detailed. Okay. This federal judge was detailed. Okay. The Honorable Judge Honeywell, I mean, she was not playing. Okay. I have to admit, I was kind of like, what is taking her so long making a decision? But I understand now, after reading this court order, why it took her so long, because she definitely wanted to make sure that she used case law. She definitely wanted to make sure that she cited and referred to court precedents in regards to different court cases that set precedents when it came to lawsuits of defamation. So again, I thought this court, this judge, I should say, this federal judge, I thought she did an excellent job. So here we go. But like I was saying, if you haven't had a chance to get a copy of the court order, I highly advise that you do. Go on Twitter, ask a fellow squatty, and I'm pretty sure that they can DM you a copy of this court order. Or if you want to, you can email me. Or you can DM me on Twitter, and I will be more than happy to help a fellow squatty out, and I'm DM you a link to this court order. But let's go ahead from the beginning. So I'm looking at this court order, and I'm going to start off in the area of factual background. Okay. It starts off with factual background, and it's talking about the parties of the case. Okay. So you got Samantha M. Markle, who is the plaintiff. So whenever I say plaintiff, I'm talking about Scammy. Okay, I'm talking about Scammy, Yvonne Grant, Samantha Markle, Samantha Rasmussen, what else? Samantha Hale. Okay, Yvonne Hale. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, when I say defendant, I'm talking about Meghan. Okay, so here we go. So factual background: the parties. Ooh, you know what? Let me put my glasses on here. Hold on. And like I said, I'm doing this podcast off the top of my head, guys. Off the top of my head. So let me go ahead and put my glasses on here. All right. Okay. So Plaintiff is a citizen of Florida, and she's a half sister to defendant. Okay, as alleged in the first amended complaint, Scammy is claiming that the two were close during childhood, and plaintiff regularly drove defendant to school and helped her with her homework. Woo! Okay. But this is a plaintiff that didn't raise her own children. But okay. Okay. And then the court order goes on to say, overall, they had a wonderful relationship. Plaintiff and defendant stayed close in the years that followed, even as defendant's acting career took off. However, their relationship soured after plaintiff met Prince Harry and became engaged to him. From late 2015 to 2018, plaintiff and defendant did not communicate, which plaintiff understood to be a consequence of defendant's acting career and a very busy travel schedule. However, plaintiff soon realized that the relationship had unraveled. Defendant hung up on plaintiff during a phone call, invited their father to a royal wedding before disinviting him due to his health. Let me read that again. However, plaintiff soon realized that the relationship had unraveled. Defendant hung up on plaintiff during a phone call, invited their father to the royal wedding before disinviting him due to his health. Now, does that make any sense? Like, why would you invite your father to your wedding, but then disinvite him because of his health? Okay. And ultimately did not invite any family members to the wedding. Plaintiff was contacted by the media for a story and stated that defendant should reach out to her ailing father. The press wrote that plaintiff bashed defendant and used fabricated quotes. There's Scammy. Scammy's blaming the press for the garbage that was coming out of her damn mouth. Okay. Plaintiff was later interviewed in December 2018 and received negative press coverage. Again, Scammy. Blaming the press that she loves when they allow her to talk all her shit about her half sister. But okay. So then the court order goes on with, I guess, the first count. Now, to go back for clarity, it's my understanding that Scammy was suing Meghan on 4 counts of defamation. Okay. So this is the first count. The first count was Finding Freedom. Okay, so we all know that Finding Freedom was written by Omid Scobie and Carolyn Durant. Okay, they're both, I guess, royal reporters, right? And they wrote this unauthorized biography called Finding Freedom. Okay, and basically Finding Freedom was a story about, Harry and Meghan leaving the royal family. Okay, so Scammy has issues with Finding Freedom. Okay, even though Finding Freedom is an unauthorized biography, and what that means is that Harry and Meghan did not authorize this book, okay? But Scammy's saying she doesn't care. She's saying that she believes that the defendant contributed false information to the book through her agent and communications secretary. And we all know who that asshole is, okay? So this is what Scammy's was suing, or I should say is suing, or no, I could say was suing Meghan for when it came to Finding Freedom. Okay. She's alleging that in chapter 12, which is titled A Problem Like Samantha, it contains numerous false statements about her. Okay. And let's see here. And these were the numerous false statements in the book. Okay. These numerous false statements that are in the book, Finding Freedom, and it's chapter 12, and it's titled A Problem Like Samantha. Okay, and here's the false statements. False statement number 1. Plaintiff and defendant's paths had crossed only twice since they grew up. I guess Scammy's saying that that's a lie. Okay, false statement number 2 in Finding Freedom. There was only one picture of plaintiff and defendant together. Okay, false statement number 3 in Finding Freedom. Plaintiff reached out to the Sun with her story about how snagging a role had been defendant's lifelong ambition and was handsomely paid for this. Okay, Scammy saying that that's not true, that she didn't reach out to the son and she wasn't paid by the son, and she did not tell the son that Meghan's lifelong dream was to snag a royal. All right, false statement number 4. Defendant didn't grow up with plaintiff. She barely saw her. Scammy saying that's a lie. Okay. False statement number 5. The half sisters have never been close. False statement number 6. Plaintiff was not invited to defendant's first wedding. Okay, so Scammy saying that she was invited to Meghan's first wedding. False statement number 7. Defendant asked her father to intervene with plaintiff, and he had told plaintiff she is hurting defendant. Okay, let me tell you about false statement number 7. I, Special K Thoughts, know for a fact that I heard sperm donor on Good Morning Britain say that Meghan was upset with him and wanted him to speak to the devil spawn's half siblings and tell them to stop talking about her to the press. Okay, I remember that. I remember sperm donor saying that. So that bullshit came from him, Scammy. All right. So that was Scammy's issues with finding freedom. That's defamation. Count number 1 that Scammy was suing Meghan about. Okay, it's just amazing to me that Scammy did not sue Omid and Carolyn and the publishers of the book. No. She's going to sue the half sister who didn't write this book. But anyway, that was count number 1. Okay, so now we're gonna go into the defendant's CBS interview, and we all know what interview that is. That's the Oprah Winfrey interview, right? So I believe this would be the second count of defamation that Scammy is suing Meghan over. Actually, in regards to this Oprah Winfrey interview, Scammy is suing Meghan on 3 counts. Okay, 3 counts of defamation. There's 3 statements that Meghan said that Scammy is saying were defamatory in this Oprah Winfrey interview. Okay, so we all know on March 7th, 2021, Oprah Winfrey interviewed defendant and Prince Harry on the televised CBS special. Over 50 million people tuned in worldwide. So plaintiff alleges that the defendant made 3 defamatory statements. Okay, so I was correct about that. And these are the statements: that she was an only child, had only met plaintiffs a handful of times, and that the plaintiff changed her surname to Markle after defendant started dating Prince Harry so that she could cash in on her newfound fame. Now, squatties. True squatties know probably over 70% of what I just stated did not come out of Meghan's mouth. But that's okay. Okay? Because Scammy is Scammy, right? There's a reason why we call her Scammy or Yvonne Grant. I'm getting confused again. I mean Samantha Markle. My bad. All right. So it goes on to say that the plaintiff submitted an undisputed transcript of the pertinent portion of the Oprah Winfrey interview reproduced below. The allegedly defamatory statements are underlined, and any, typographical errors or repeated words appear in the transcript submitted to the court. Right? And then it goes on and it has the transcript of the interview between Meghan and Oprah Winfrey. So I'm going to go ahead and slide down because I want to get to the meat. I want to get to the meat of what Scammy is suing Meghan for. I want to get to the statements of what Scammy is suing Meghan for. So here we go. Okay. Oprah Winfrey and Samantha Markle, your half-sister on your father's side, has written a supposedly tell-all book about you, What was your relationship like with her? Defendant. I think it would be very hard to tell all when you don't know me. And it's this very different situation than my dad, right? When you talk about betrayal, betrayal comes from someone that you had a relationship with, right? I don't feel comfortable talking about people that I don't really know. But I grew up as an only child, which everyone who grew up around me knows. And I wished I had siblings. I would have loved to have had siblings. So I'm excited to be pregnant that Archie has someone. It was really interesting to me that the last time I saw her must have been at least 18, 19 years ago. And before that, 10 years before that. Oprah Winfrey. So you all weren't close. You didn't grow up together. Defendant. No. Oprah Winfrey. She doesn't really know you. Defendant. No. She changed her last name back to Markle. And I think she's in early 50s at that time, only when I started dating Harry. And so I think that says enough. Okay, so basically, Scammy had issues with that whole exchange right there. She had issues with that whole exchange. She's saying during that exchange that Meghan stated 3 defamatory statements about her, which were, that she doesn't know her, that they didn't grow up together, um, that Meghan hadn't seen her in 19, 18 years and 10 years before that. And, the big one about, Scammy changing her last name to Markle after Meghan started dating Prince Harry, basically to cash in on her fame. And in that exchange, there's nothing in there with Meghan actually saying that. And then the court order basically goes into the damages. The plaintiff is, let's see, the plaintiff lives in Lakeland, Florida, which is a very small city. And she's claiming that she's very well known in that city. Okay. And she alleges that as a result of the false statements, the defendant's fan base, including a significant part of Lakeland's population, became angry with the plaintiff. This is what Scammy is claiming in regards to damages. The court order goes on to say suddenly plaintiff was seen as an opportunist trying to cash in on her sister's success and fame despite having no relationship with her. Isn't that true? I mean, I see no lies in that. Let me read that again. Suddenly, plaintiff was seen as an opportunist trying to cash in on her sister's success and fame despite having no relationship with her. I mean, that's facts, right? That is facts. That is facts on top of facts. Scammy. Own it. Own it, girl. All right. The defamatory statements cause irreparable prejudice, injury, and harm to the plaintiff's reputation, as well as anxiety and emotional distress. She has received hate mail, ongoing negative press, and was stalked by one of the defendant's fans. Moreover, the plaintiff has been unable to work as a mental health counselor because of the damage to her reputation. Who in the hell would go to Scammy for mental health services? Oh my God. Anyway, so that's what Scammy was stating in regards to her damages. Ooh, this woman is a fraud. She is a big time chicken head fraud. All right, so we will go ahead and talk about the judge's decision on the first count, which is in regards to finding freedom. Okay, so here we go. Finding freedom. Defendant argues that the claims based on Finding Freedom must fail because she did not publish the book. The court agrees. In the amended complaint, plaintiff alleges that the false information contained in the book came from the Duchess herself through her agent and communications secretary. According to the plaintiff, this allegation satisfies the publication requirement. Plaintiff also argues that the defendant's cases on the issue of publication are distinguishable. I don't know if I said that right. Anyway, finally, at the court's hearing on this motion, plaintiff argued that a claim for defamation under theory of reasonable, foreseeable third party republication is allowed under Florida law. Okay. Oh, that's kind of funny. And it goes on to say, as discussed below, the court finds the plaintiff's claims related to Finding Freedom are due to be dismissed. Defendant must publish a defamatory statement for it to be actionable, and it is undisputed that the defendant did not publish Finding Freedom. And so the judge court ordered that action in regards to Finding Freedom be dismissed with prejudice. So what that means is that Scammy cannot sue Meghan ever again in life in a U.S. court hearing in regards to whatever defamatory statements that she feels that Omid Scobie and Carolyn Duran wrote about her. She can't sue Meghan for that ever again. That count was dismissed with prejudice. Okay, so it will be interesting to see if Scammy's ass is going to sue the publishers of Finding Freedom, because if she doesn't, then that goes to show you that she was only in this just to get at Meghan. All right, so now we are going to the 3 alleged defamatory statements that Scammy is saying that Meghan said during the Oprah Winfrey interview. Okay, so we're going to start off with statement 1. So here we go again. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and read this exchange between Oprah and Meghan. Okay, here we go. Oprah Winfrey. And Samantha Markle, your half-sister on your father's side, has written a supposedly tell-all book about you. What is your relationship with her? Defendant, I think it would be very hard to tell all when you don't know me, and this is a very different situation than my dad, right? When you talk about betrayal comes from someone that you have a relationship, right? I don't feel comfortable talking about people that I don't really know, but I grew up as an only child, which everyone who grew up around me knows, and I wished I had siblings. I would have loved to have had siblings, all right? So the court goes on to say, the amended complaint alleges that the defendant falsely said that she was an only child. Bloop. Okay, did you guys understand the seriousness of that statement right there? Did you understand the seriousness of the situation of that statement right there? I'm going to read it one more time for you, okay? Clear out your ears. Clear out your ears. The court says the amended complaint alleges that defendant falsely said she was an only child. Bloop. Basically, the court is saying that Scammy lied on Meghan because Meghan did not say that she was an only child. Okay? What did Meghan say? Meghan said, but I grew up as an only child. Okay? That's very important. All right? The court goes on to say, defendant contends that she, in fact, said she grew up as an only child, that this statement is protected opinion, and that how she feels about her own childhood is not falsifiable and therefore not actionable. Plaintiff responds that this statement was one of fact and that it made it apparent that she was an opportunist of the worst kind. Statements that cannot reasonably be interpreted as stating actual facts about an individual cannot support a cause of action. And then what I loved about this federal judge is that all throughout this court order, she cites previous case law and previous court cases that had set precedences in regards to defamatory cases, defamation cases. Okay. So she went, I shouldn't say she, but this court order, it states different court cases that had these type of opinions. Okay. Basically saying that opinions cannot be defamatory. And the court order, it refers to all these different court cases that had set precedences regarding similar defamatory cases that have been brought to federal court. The court order goes on to talk about how, although pure opinions are protected, mixed expressions of opinion are not. And it goes on to state that the testing of determining whether statements are protected opinions is whether the statements are capable of being proved false. And again, this federal judge does an excellent job in citing previous court case decisions in regards to that subject matter. Let's see here. I'm going down this court order. And then the court starts talking about determining certain language that is defamatory. Okay, and it states that in determining the basic question of whether certain language is defamatory, the words are not, or I'm sorry, I should say the words used are not to be construed or taken in their mildest or most grievous sense, but should be construed as the common mind would understand it. And again, this judge refers to previous court case decisions regarding to defamatory language and how they are not to be construed or taken in their mildest or most grievous sense. So then the court order makes it clear. After making this determination, the court can dismiss a claim if it finds that an allegedly defamatory statement is non-actionable. And again, of course, it cites previous case decisions. So again, this court order states here, a reasonable listener would not think that the defendant was suggesting that she has no half siblings or that plaintiff does not exist. As a reasonable listener would understand it, defendant merely expresses an opinion about her childhood and her relationship with her half siblings. Thus, the court finds that defendant's statement is not objectively verifiable or subject to empirical proof. Plaintiff cannot plausibly disprove defendant's opinion of her own childhood, that she grew up as an only child and wish she had siblings, because the statement is not capable of being proved false. It is protected from defamation action. Thus, the court is justified in dismissing the claim without prejudice. Bleep! All right. Statement number 2. Okay, the defamatory statement number 2 that Scammy says that Meghan made about her. All right, and of course, we're still talking about this Oprah Winfrey interview. According to the amended complaint, defendant told Oprah and millions of viewers that she had only met plaintiff a handful of times. However, this statement is nowhere to be found in the interview transcript. According to plaintiff, it is paraphrased version of the following statement from the interview. Defendant, last time I saw her must have been 18, 19 years ago, and before that, 10 years before that. Defendant argues that this claim should be dismissed. The statement is not in this transcript and was not said. Number two, the term handful is too vague to be subject to objective measurement or falsified. It is substantially true that the two have only met a handful of times. And number four, the statement is not capable of being defamatory. Oh, wow. Whoa, 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 whoa. I mean, Meghan's attorneys were on it. That whole spiel I just said, I mean, that was like daggers, right? I mean, I got to read that one more again. Okay. Defendant, Meghan, argues that this claim should be dismissed because the statement is not in the transcript. It was not said. Bloop. The term handful is too vague, damn it, to be subject to objective measurement or falsified. Damn. It is substantially true that the two have only met a handful of times, and the statement is not capable of being defamatory. Oh, damn. Okay. The court order goes on to say, plaintiff concedes that the amended complaint does not accurately quote the transcript. Yeah, Scammy. So Scammy's basically conceding that she lied. Okay. However, she argues that her version of the statement was evidenced by what the defendant actually said. Yeah, okay. Okay. The court's analysts will begin and end with the defendant's first argument. Oh, damn. Okay. As discussed below, defendant is correct that the allegedly defamatory statement is not in the transcript. More importantly, however, plaintiff's altered version of statement differs in substance by anything defendant said. This is fatal to plaintiff's claim because her amended complaint thus fails to plausibly allege that defendant made a false statement, and falsity is an element of her claim. Wow. 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 That's real. Oh, man. All right. So then it goes on to state, of course, different cases that have set precedents. Wow. I'm just tongue tied here. I mean, that is crazy. I mean, the judge, in so many words, basically called Scammy a liar. She's calling her a liar, and she's saying that she is falsifying evidence. Like, her complaint was just basically full of lies, and it's just all false. Okay. So then this court order goes on to say, according to plaintiff, defendant said that they had only met a handful of times. In fact, according to the transcript, defendant merely stated the approximate dates of plaintiff and defendant's last two meetings. So the court order again refers back to what Meghan actually said, which was, beginning quote, the last time I saw her must have been at least 18, 19 years ago, and before that, 10 years before that. Plaintiff does more than paraphrase defendant's words. She substantially changes the meanings of what she said. Whew. She alleges that it is false that she and defendant have only met a handful of times. In other words, she claims that they have met more than a handful of times. However, this claim and defendant's actual statement that the parties last saw each other approximately 19 years ago and another 10 years before that could easily both be true. Wow. It's like, do you guys understand what the judge is saying? Do you get it? Do you understand what the judge is saying? Do you understand the seriousness of the situation? here. What the judge is saying is that, Scammy, you are a brand new fool. Okay. Meghan is saying, okay, that the last time you guys saw each other was 18, 19 years ago. And it was probably another 10 years before that. You're saying, or basically accusing Meghan of saying that you guys only met a handful of times, right? And you're saying that you guys met more than a handful of times. And what the judge is saying, that based on what Meghan actually said, it's very plausible that within that 18, 19 year span, and then 10 years before that, it's possible that you guys did meet more than a handful of times. Girl. This judge is saying, and it's all in the court order. I hope you guys are able to get your hands on the court order because it's all in the court order. The judge is saying this could easily be true, that both can easily be true. Okay, and then the judge goes on to say, having compared the allegations in the amended complaint to the transcript of the interview, the court finds that the plaintiff has failed to plausibly allege that the defendant made a substantially and materially false statement, as she must do to state a claim. Thus, her claim does not allow the court to draw a reasonable inference and that the defendant is liable for the misconduct alleged. Okay. And then, of course, the judge says that the plaintiff's claim is due to be dismissed. However, for reasons expressed, the claim will be denied without prejudice and with leave to amend. So basically, the judge is saying that she's giving Scammy another chance to file an amended complaint with Meghan's actual true words that she actually said. Okay, just like the judge did the same thing in the first statement ruling. All right. All right, so we're going on to statement 3, the alleged defamatory statement 3 that Scammy is suing Meghan on. I'm having fun. I am having fun. I mean, really taking a deep dive into this court order, into the federal judge's decision. I mean, this is just lovely. This is just wonderful right here. I mean, this one right here, this is historical. Okay, this court order right here is historical. Okay, get your hands on this court order. Make sure you get yourself a copy of this court order, because this right here, squatties, this is historical. Okay, all right. So here we go. So this court order says, finally, the amended complaint alleges that the defendant said plaintiff only changed her surname to Markle after defendant started dating Prince Harry so that plaintiff could cash in on her newfound fame. Okay. Defendant, Meghan, argues that the second half of the quote, so that plaintiff could cash in on her newfound fame, is fabricated. Oh, see, you know what? See, that's Meghan being nice right there, boy. Okay, that is Meghan being nice. No, Meghan, that bitch lied. Okay, ain't nothing fabricated. She lied. She asserts that the remainder of the statement is substantially true and submits state court dockets showing plaintiff using different surnames as late as September 2016. You go, Meghan. Stick the foot up her ass. Plaintiff responds that the second half of the statement was defamatory implied. Okay, Scammy, okay. Plaintiff does not specify what about defendant's statement was false, which alone is sufficient grounds for dismissal. Hoo, hoo, hoo. And it says the complaint fails to specify what about the alleged defamatory statement is inaccurate or misleading, however, and therefore fails to state a claim for defamation as to this part of the report. The amended complaint merely presents the alleged statement and asserts that it was not true. Separately, like the previous statement, this claim is due to be dismissed because it is explicitly contradicted by the transcript. Here, the amended complaint did not enclose the entire statement in quotation marks. However, as plaintiff's counsel conceded, it paraphrased the statement by adding words so that Mrs. Markle could cash in on her newfound fame. Wow. Scammy's attorneys even admitted that they paraphrased Meghan's words and they also added the phrase so that Mrs. Markle could cash in on her newfound fame. I mean, in my opinion, personally, I feel like the attorneys should have gotten sanctioned for that. That's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. All right. And so it goes back into the transcript of the exchange between Oprah and Meghan. So here we go. Oprah Winfrey. So you all weren't close. You didn't grow up together. Defendant. No. Oprah Winfrey. She doesn't really know you. Defendant. No. She changed her last name back to Markle, and I think she's in her early 50s at that time. Only when I started dating Harry, and so I think that says enough. And the court goes on to say, a plaintiff's attempt to plead a valuable cause of action may be defeated by her own evidence. Now, this is the judge talking about Scammy. I'm going to read it again because I want to make sure that you guys understand the seriousness of this situation here. A plaintiff's attempt to plead a valuable cause of action may be defeated by her own evidence. It says the amended complaint accuses defendant of saying plaintiff changed her surname so that she could cash in on her newfound fame. Again, plaintiff's claim is explicitly contradicted by the transcript. Thus, the court cannot draw a reasonable inference that the defendant is liable. For this statement, plaintiff's claim is dismissed without prejudice. For the reasons expressed, she will be allowed one final opportunity to state a claim upon which relief can be granted. Again, you know, I understand that this federal court judge wants to come across as fair and objective, right? But come on now. This is a court of law. In my opinion, Scammy and her attorneys disrespected the federal court by submitting false amended complaints. Right? They knew that stuff was false. They knew Meghan did not say that. Okay? They knew that. And, you know, I will say in this court order, the judge does cite case law, right? Where there is a certain allowance to paraphrase what people have said, right? But it does state that it has to be very, 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 very limited. You cannot change the meanings of people's words, and you cannot just come up basically with bullshit that people did not say. All right. So again, wow. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue. Let's see here. Injurious falsehood. Let's see. It looks like Scammy is claiming in the second count. Plaintiff brings a claim of injurious falsehood. Boy, Scammy is doing way too much. Plaintiff alleges that the same defamatory statements detailed in count one harmed her trade, her business, her reputation, her prestige. Prestige, bitch, this bitch is crazy. This bitch has no prestige. What prestige, bitch? Are you for real? Prestige and goodwill. Okay. Okay. Specifically, she claims that her mental health counseling business has suffered and her autobiography sales have tanked. Wow. The reason why nobody bought Scammy's book is because, like Megan said, how can you write a tell-all book about somebody that you don't know? Okay? Defendant Meghan argues that the Florida's single action rule bars plaintiff from bringing multiple causes of action based on the same publication as a failed defamation claim. Whoo, Meghan's got some good attorneys, boy. Separately, defendant claims that plaintiff has not pled special damages. Plaintiff responds that the single action rule does not apply because the claim alleges damages distinct from her defamation claim. She argues that her damages in count one are for emotional distress, whereas the damages in this count are tied to her business. Plaintiff also claims that she has sufficiently pled special damages as related to her counseling business and book sales. The tort of injurious falsehood protects the economic interests of an injured party against loss, and in contrast to defamation, which protects the personal reputation of the injured party. Okay, so the judges is basically citing previous case decisions, blah, 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 blah. All right. Let me go ahead and go down here. Let's see. Okay, here, plaintiff's claims for injurious falsehood is based on the same statements as her defamation claims. Thus, under the single action rule, her injurious falsehood claim must be dismissed. As with the defamation claims based on the CBS interview, the court will allow plaintiff one final opportunity as to amend her injurious falsehood claim. Florida courts have disagreed as to whether the single action rule applies only when the non-defamation torts are associated with a failed defamation claim. Okay. So that's good stuff to know. So that means that there hasn't been like a universal decision regarding single action claims for injurious falsehood claims within the Florida courts. Okay. All right, and then of course the court addresses the Florida's anti-SLAPP statute. Defendant, aka Meghan, she moves for fees and costs under Florida's anti-SLAPP statute. She argues that the plaintiff's lawsuit is meritless and it was brought because the defendant exercised her right to free speech in connection with the public issue. And of course, Scammy responds that the statute does not cover defendant's statements and that her lawsuit has merit. Let's see here. As a threshold matter, neither party argues that the statute does not apply in federal court. For that reason, the court will follow the numerous decisions from thus districts that have applied to the statute. And of course, this federal judge does a great job in citing previous court case decisions. Defendant, aka Meghan, seeks to utilize the statute's free shifting provision, which entitles a prevailing defendant to an award of attorney fees and costs. And then it cites Florida statute. To claim these entitlements, a moving defendant must make two showings that the action is without merit and that it was filed primarily because the defendant exercised a protected right, which the protected right is Meghan's free speech. Okay, let's see. I'm going down this court order because there's just a lot going on here. Okay, here we go. Here, the defendant, aka Meghan, argues that her allegedly defamatory statements qualified as free speech on a public issue because they were made in connection with a book and a televised program, respectively. She argues that the plaintiff's suit is without merit for the reasons discussed in her motion to dismiss. Let's see. All right. So here we go. The court will deny without prejudice defendant's request for fees under the statute as it lacks sufficient information to rule on whether the suit is entirely without merit or was filed primarily or solely to suppress defendant's exercise for free speech in connection with a public issue. Defendant may renew her request for fees under the statute at the conclusion of the litigation. So basically what the judge is saying is that it's just too early. It's too early to grant Meghan her court fees. It's too early to court order Samantha to pay Meghan's attorney fees and court fees because the judge did grant Sammy more time to be able to amend her complaints in regards to the 3 defamatory statements. So let's see here. So conclusion. For the foregoing reasons, the court grants the motion to dismiss. The plaintiff's claims based on finding freedom will be dismissed with prejudice. Okay, so this part is very important. I hope you guys understand this, okay? So this is the conclusion of the court case decision, okay? Because there are some squatties and some people in the general public who are a little bit confused about the difference between with prejudice and without prejudice, okay? So conclusion. For the foregoing reasons, the court grants the motion to dismiss. Plaintiff's claim based on finding freedom will be dismissed with prejudice, as plaintiff cannot plausibly allege that the defendant published the book and amendment of these claims would be futile. Okay? Plaintiff will be allowed one final opportunity to replead her claims related to defendant's CBS interview and her claim of injurious falsehood. It is court ordered. Defendant's motion to dismiss for failure to state a claim is granted. Plaintiff's defamation claims based on the contents of the book Finding Freedom are dismissed with prejudice. Okay? That part is done. It's finished, finito, terminated forever. All right? Scammy cannot sue Meghan in regards to defamation, in regards to finding freedom. And like I said previously, right, if Scammy was serious, she would sue the publishers of the book, not Meghan. Okay. Number 3. Plaintiff's defamation claims based on defendant's CBS interview and her claim for injurious falsehood are dismissed without prejudice. For the foregoing reasons, plaintiff may file an amended complaint within 14 days of this court order. Defendant's requests for attorney's fees and costs under the anti-SLAPP statute are denied without prejudice as premature. Done, ordered in Tampa, Florida on March 30th, 2022. Why that shit says 2022, I do not know. Okay? Because that's confusing as hell. So hopefully you guys understand. Okay? The plaintiff's defamation claims based on defendant's CBS interview and her claim of injurious falsehood are dismissed without prejudice. It means that they're dismissed. However, Scammy has 14 days from the date of this court order was signed to file amended complaints to readdress the alleged 3 defamatory statements. Okay. But those amended complaints must contain the truthful, direct statements that Meghan actually said. There's no paraphrasing and there's no changing the meaning of her words and there's no just making shit up, saying that she said it when she didn't. Okay. So that's basically what happened. And what happened was a lot. This is what I'm going to say about the court case decision. Okay. After reading this court case decision in its entirety, and really understanding the seriousness of federal court cases, I think Your Honorship, Charlene Honeywell, did a great job. Okay. Because at first I was wondering why it was taking her so long to make a decision. But understanding how much of a high profile case this is, not so much in America, but just, just for the simple fact that Scammy had accused her of being biased towards Meghan because Scammy said that Meghan was friends with the Obamas, and Your Honorship Honeywell was appointed by President Obama. I can understand why she took her time and, she wanted to be very, very fair and totally objective and unbiased. She wanted to come across that way. That's why she took her time. And it definitely explains why she has got so many gosh darn previous court case decisions regarding defamation and opinions, opinions versus defamation, and just my God, like I said, if you can get your hands on this court order, please do, because she cites so many different court cases that set precedences, and just different court case decisions, and she really took it there. She wanted to make sure that this court order was ironclad, right? And she did a very, very good job. So basically, what happens now is that it's the ball is in Sammy's court. The ball is in Yvonne Grant's, Samantha Markle, Samantha Rasmussen. Is that what it is? Samantha Rasmussen, Yvonne Markle, Samantha Markle, Samantha Markle loser, fraud. The ball is in her court. So she's got 14 days. Actually, she's probably got 12 days now to file 3 amended complaints that are truthful, factual, and that have direct statements, truthful, direct statements that Meghan actually said. And come on, guys, we all know that her having to use truthful, direct quotes that Meghan actually said weakens her case even more. Her case was already weak, right? It was already weak. That's why she lied. That's why her attorney lied and just came up with bullshit saying what Meghan did not actually say. That's why they were changing the meanings of her words, right? And then even even the judge said herself, some of the evidence that Scammy presented helped Meghan's case. Now, isn't that the same damn thing that happened in Meghan's lawsuit against the Daily Fail? When that bitch ass Jason Knopf presented those text messages, not in their full context. And when Meghan presented the text messages in the full context, it helped her case. Right? Right? Remember that? Wow. Who do you guys think is funding Scammy's court case? Like who? Who is so invested in this? Like who? You think it's somebody in the royal family? Um, is it the Daily Mail? Is it somebody, some British tabloid editor that is giving her money? Like who? Somebody had brought this to my attention. Are you guys aware of the Heritage Foundation? Those idiots who are gunning for Prince Harry about his visa here in the United States. Could it be them? You think perhaps it's Murdoch? Murdoch. I mean, I said Murdoch. You guys know I live in South Carolina, so that case is just all over the place. But you think it's Murdoch? It's just interesting that there's somebody that is that invested in seeing Meghan lose a court case or seeing Meghan having to go to court. Like, it's just crazy to me. There is so much going on in the world today. You've got kids who are getting gunned down in school. You got people that are homeless, people who can't put food on the table. You got inflation going on. We got a war going on in Ukraine. You got Russia doing all kinds of stuff, just murdering people left and right. But yeah, you got some fool who is financing this child abuser so she can bring her half sister that she doesn't know to court. Wow. That's all I got to say is wow. All right, guys. It's time to come to an end to this podcast. I had fun and I enjoyed it. I hope you guys did too. Again, if you can, go on ahead and get yourself a copy of this court order. If you don't have a copy, if you have a Twitter account, if you're on Twitter, if you're on Instagram, you can send me a message. You can also email me at here at Megan, Duchess of Advocacy World Podcast. Just hit me up any way you can, and I'll be more than happy to send you the link to get this court order. And as a matter of fact, my bad, I will actually drop a link in the description of this podcast. Okay? Problem solved. All right. I'm going to go ahead and end this podcast with a Meghan, Duchess of Success quote. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do that. But before I do that, again, if you are not a subscriber and you are listening to us on YouTube, I'm going to go ahead and need you to hit the subscribe button, please. You can also follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I am on Twitter, and we also have an Instagram page as well. Please leave your comments regarding this podcast. I want to know what you guys think. And also let me know, who do you think is funding Scammy's court case? Because they're going to have to come up with a lot of pennies to pay for Meghan's attorney fees and court costs, because Scammy doesn't have that money. So that's going to be interesting. All right, guys, here we go. Here is a famous, because this quote right here, boy, it's famous. Okay, this quote right here is going to be forever ingrained in Scammy's brain. Here we go. But I grew up as an only child. I'm going to say it one more again. But I grew up as an only child. Meghan, Duchess of Success. I'm Special K Thoughts, and I'm out. And I'll see you soon.